For the week ahead, June the 3rd until the 10th, we're going to see a mixed bag. We start off the week with a Venus Cazimi. She's in the heart of the sun on Tuesday. At the same time, Mercury conjuncts Jupiter. That kind of brings a good news vibe to the world or into each of our lives, a little pop of something positive. But then later on in the week as well, besides the Cazimi and the conjunction to Jupiter, we're also going to see later on Venus and the sun square Saturn as we approach the weekend. And that can feel like a time of difficulty and contraction, as Saturn is about what we need to put boundaries and limits around, what needs constraint or discipline. Venus, of course, is the goddess of love and money, and Sun, of course, is about soul and purpose, but also world leaders. Technically speaking, Venus is deeply invisible because she's just come outside the beams and then the heart of the sun, the throne room, and she's on the other end waiting to be born again in the sky in the evening in the month of July, where she becomes what we call an evening star apparition. So while she's invisible, I'm curious to see how her square to Saturn will play out on June the 8th, and we can feel that energy coming through the weekend, Friday through to Monday. So welcome to the Week Ahead Astrology Report. My name is Lori Lothian. I am using the Western Tropical Zodiac, the whole sign house system, the fixed stars, and the minor asteroids. If you wonder where the hell I am in Lisbon, and I am recording from my hotel room. I didn't even bother making the bed for you guys. Let's make it a little bit less messy in the background. Now, one of the things I want to say about this week ahead is that I find the Venus Cazimi is magical. And if you would like to harness that on June 4th, do so. Send out that email, that phone call, the text message, use that power of Venus in the heart of the sun as she's being divinely guided by the soul or king soul, the energy of the divine intelligence that runs this universe, and resetting your life and my life and the world at large in the place of Gemini. We're at 14 degrees of the sign of Gemini. She and the sun become one. This energy is good for world events because Gemini is the brothers and the neighbors. And of course, we have war amongst brothers and neighbors in the world at this time on a level of intensity we haven't seen probably since World War II. And Venus, not when she's invisible, perhaps in July when she becomes visible, can set the world in peaceful order, because we can anticipate the goddess of peace in the sign of neighbors and brothers. With Justice Jupiter there, may indeed be the beginning of the end of really difficult wars. Of course, we know what we're talking about, the Middle East, but also Russia and Ukraine. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that rather than talk to you this week about Venus in the heart of the sun for your sign, and we always do all signs here on my channel, listen for your sun sign, for career and purpose, moon for home and body, but then maybe perhaps the rising sign is more accurately all about you. Try all three. But we're not going to cover the Venus Cazimi or the Venus Star Point on Tuesday the 4th because I did a very nice deep dive 2-hour, almost longer video on that, which is currently out on my channel. So please look for that for this week ahead and listen for your sign rather than me repeat that and do it all over again. That's ridiculous. So instead, we're going to talk about two things for your sign this week. On Tuesday, and you'll feel it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mercury will co-join with Jupiter in the early degrees of Gemini. That can look like and feel like good news. Now, Jupiter is also not visible, nor is Mercury. So again, some of this feels a little bit muted as they're all very close to the sun. But nonetheless, it's still Jupiter, who's luck, prosperity, bounty, and wealth. It is still a possible feel-good energy on the beginning of this week, and maybe just a pop of good news coming your way in the Gemini part of your sky. This is where you need to know, ideally, your whole sign house system and where your Gemini sky is. Is it the marriage house? It will be for Sag risings, that kind of thing. Is it the career space? It will be for Pisces rising. So if you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, check below in my freebies in my description box below the video, where I have a free how to cast your chart in whole sign houses and find your ascendant video. Also, I have a free giveaway, the meanings of the 12 houses PDF. You can get all of that always down below in my goodie bag of freebies under my video. Just keep scrolling all the way to the bottom. There's a lot of things I have listed there, including those freebies at the bottom of my description box. So one thing I will say is we're coming off a very strong energy, also coming into this week of Jupiter, Pluto trine. This is going to go through all the way until the 6th and 7th even of the month of June. I mean, we started it late last week. It's flowing through the weekend. This is now Monday. We're still feeling it into the first few days of this week. And again, I covered the Pluto, Jupiter trine energy, which is interestingly rare because, of course, Jupiter trining Pluto and Aquarius is a first in a lifetime, folks. We haven't seen this in our lifetime. So this first in a lifetime goes back to, I think, 1800s. The exact date is maybe 1897 or 87. This is the first time any of us individually and collectively have felt it in our lives, from the sign of Aquarius to Jupiter in Gemini. And so it's very powerful. I called it Faith Moves Mountains energy, and it's in my last week's week ahead video. But if you want to go back and listen to that, of course, it bleeds into this week as well. What we're going to cover also for your sign today is the energy of Venus and the Sun, because they're close to each other still, even though Venus leaves the Sun's perfect conjunction on June 4th. By June the 8th, the Sun and Venus are still tracking really close beside each other. And therefore, we see both the Sun and Venus as we move into the weekend in a square to Saturn and Pisces, where he has been, by the way, since 2019. No, since 2023, the month of March. Now I'm recording on this little mic that's not very good quality because I didn't want to haul my big Yeti and stuff with me, and whatever. It's a long story. So bear with me. I hope the sound is good, and bear with everything else about trying to record a video while I'm in travel mode. So we're going to talk about how love is hard, love endures, love that perseveres, grinding into money and love stories, friction with females, difficulties with pleasure, maybe some kind of boundary around something that you desire, a Venus square, Saturn. In context to your Pisces sky, in context or relevance, of course, to your Gemini sky, those two pieces of real estate, which are 90 degrees away or square each other, is where the tension is on the coming weekend. So we'll cover that for your sign. And we're going to talk very briefly, I promise, about world events, okay? Just really briefly, because I know that right now on the road and stuff, I don't have time to languish in world event astrology. So let me go ahead and draw the sky for you so you can see what we're seeing, what's happening in our heavens at this time. So I'm going to share the screen so you can see it, and then we're going to keep going and talk about the deets for your sign. Of course, it helps if I'm cued to somewhere in the right century here. Ask every astrologer doing research. I'm looking at the 1800s and going, no, I don't think you guys want to know what was going on in the 1800s. All right. Oh my God, sorry, you're propped on a pillow in a window seat in a hotel in Lisbon. Okay. So you're moving around. All right, here we go. So here's the sky. It's got a lot of minor asteroids in the way there, so I know it could overwhelm everybody. Let's take everybody out except the main players, okay? We'll get rid of all of the riffraff of extraneous extracurricular stuff we don't need. We'll keep the nodes in there. Okay. So here we have it. We're in Gemini on the left-hand side. Anytime you see a sign on the left, that means it is the rising sign. So when you come into my live premieres and you go, what are we on? Just look to the left of your screen as you look at the camera or at my video. That is always the Eastern horizon line, and that is the sign of Gemini. Okay, some of you do know your glyphs. So just look to the side of the video. So I just have it queued for Gemini, just happens to be there. And you can see that here we are on June the 4th. This is a Tuesday in my time zone, adjust for your time zone. And you can see that there's Mercury at 2 degrees of the sign of Gemini, and there's Jupiter at 2 degrees of the sign of Gemini. The two of them are in a nice conversation or a collusion called a conjunction. It can be a hard aspect, but they're having some kind of fusion here. Jupiter is close to the Sun, 14 degrees to 2, so he's still not quite visible. And therefore, it's almost like a secret conversation, a secret news story, a secret undercover story that's going to maybe be more available to the world when he clears the beams of the Sun. So then the question would be, when does the Sun get at least 15 degrees away from Jupiter? If I move us forward, the Sun's at 15 and Jupiter's at 2. Not quite. And the Sun's at 16 and Jupiter's at 2. We're getting there. And the Sun's at 17 and Jupiter's at 2. So around here, we maybe begin to see, but that's almost a 3-degree Jupiter. So probably more closer to here. This is around June the 8th. Let's go June the 9th to be safe. Well, Jupiter will become a visible planet again. So whatever is going on in your life, my life, everybody's life, including the world at large, to do with secret, hidden conversations about fairness, goodness, prosperity, plenty, justice, and wisdom. Okay. We're going to wonder what it is. We may not know on June the 4th, which is a Tuesday. We may have to wait until next week on the 9th, and it's going to be a difficult week anyway. Oh, we have a Mars square Pluto coming into next week. I'll be doing that video also on the road for you, but it can be something going on behind the scenes that comes into the new cycle next week around justice, legal situations, courts, wealthy people, Jupiter. In your own life, similarly, whatever this is about, it may not be so obvious to you until next week that there's something good trying to hatch or something interestingly positive trying to hatch. That can be kind of a good news vibe, but there might be some grit, guys. I mean, certainly a Jupiter trine Mercury is a clear good news, right? Jupiter and Mercury conjunct, and they're not natural allies astrologically because they're in detriment in each other's sign, can be more difficult. Who's the stronger planet here? Well, certainly it's Mercury, because this is his home kingdom. So he's the boss of Jupiter. He's the one in charge, and he's also quite capable here of telling us all what we need to know in terms of ideas, phone calls, text messages, and news cycle material. But because both Jupiter and Mercury are still invisible, quite possibly we'll have to wait till next week to get some kind of Jupiterian stories around justice, courts, and such matters hitting our news cycle. What else is happening? Because I'll do your sign, don't worry, I promise. This Gemini sky happens to be the house of open enemies for Netanyahu, Joe Biden, and Israel, because they are all three Sagittarius rising. What is going on in the open enemies or adversaries house? Well, Joe Biden's running against Trump, so Trump is an adversary. Things are happening about Donald Trump that may be hitting the news cycle, importantly, June the 4th and or early next week. With Venus here, this is benefiting the opponents of Biden. When it comes to Netanyahu, who are his opponents? Right now, he's being opposed in the Knesset by a couple of other like war cabinet guy and stuff, because they are not liking his lack of a day after plan, and therefore he now has some internal opposition within his government against him, so that can be his adversary personally, right? Well, he also sees the whole war situation and Hamas as an adversary as well. This does not bode well for him, because his adversaries are looking strong. And when it comes to the United States of America, it most usually points its adversaries out as Iran, China, and Russia. And those folks are doing well with this stellium here, and we may hear how well they're doing in some news stories next week. For example, things like the BRICS nations and their desire to create their own currency, or the fact that I think it's 9 or maybe 13 Pacific Asian countries decided to band together and create their own microeconomy. This was quite predictable with their own exchange platforms without having to work through the US dollar system. This is actually predictable with Pluto and Aquarius. This has happened before in ancient history with Pluto and Aquarius, where you see a disbanding of centralized or hegemonic forms of power, and you begin to see not only a multipolar world with various power centers, not just one, such as Rome or the United States, but also you began to see decentralization of economic alliances, and we're seeing that already happening with Xi Jinping going to see Serbia, Hungary, and France and trying to broaden his trade agreements into Europe. Okay, for example. So when you consider the United States as a Sag rising and its adversaries as a country, what the government considers its adversaries, doing very well. I would definitely say with Gemini being the natural ruler of the third house, which can involve marketing and commerce, or in the ancient day, peddling salesmen and caravans traveling to trade stuff, that we might find that this is secret trade agreements being forged, or maybe publicly known, June the 4th between nations that the United States considers an adversary. And the news breaking in a bigger way next week, perhaps around June 8th or 9th or 10th, as we see Jupiter become more visible. Okay, early next week. We'll see. Anything else I want to say? Because Israel is a Libra rising, the South Node has been draining its resources, draining its luck, draining its goodness. The eclipses have been here. South Node Mars conjunction here last October in tandem with an eclipse is partly why there is a war again in the Middle East. But for the nation of Israel, the ninth house is being highly activated by this sort of benefic, planetary alignment of Jupiter, Venus, and of course, Mercury in domicile. Honestly, that doesn't look good in terms of how the nation of Israel has to respond to a powerful complex of planets in Gemini, which can indicate judicial systems in the ninth house that are foreign. And that includes ICC, ICJ, or institutional bodies for international reasons, such as the United Nations. Those energies are powerful in the nation of Israel's sky and may be making some major adjustments to what Israel thinks it's quite capable of doing in the world, because we'll also see Saturn, who is like the brakes on the story, squaring the Venus, Jupiter, Mercury energy as well. So Saturn is sort of especially there saying, especially around water. I mean, Mediterranean, Red Sea, water borders, Gaza is on water, all know that, right? So Saturn is hardship near and in water, war in the water as well. And we're going to see some serious challenges with Saturn, probably in relationship to the stellium, not only this week, but also next week. All right, that's my world events. I don't want to go too much into it anymore. It's a devastating and appalling. We have we have Mars involved in a hot mess, as he's going to be going through as well. The sign of Taurus on June the 9th, and that's where he's a bulldozer, but he's also out of dignity. And we saw Insurrection Day, in quotes, in the United States during a Mars and Taurus transit, for example. Right now, as I speak, I'm recording this early access ad-free content for my Patreon community. Check it out in my description box. I'm recording this on May the 28th, and at this time, as we move into the week ahead, which is last week's video for you guys listening to this one, we will be seeing Mars connecting to Eris, the goddess of discord and difficulty. And really, Eris is connected with wars as well. She's the female brother of the warrior god Aries / Mars, Aries. And she basically caused the Trojan War by throwing a frigging apple into the situation. It was the Trojan War, I think. The point being, she's a shit disturber, excuse my language, and she's hooking up with Mars last week. I didn't cover that last week. It's really my cup of tea, but I thought I should mention it because with Mars, Aries, and the Chiron altogether, Eris, Mars, and Chiron last week in Aries. What is that, guys? Because I'm recording before I know what world events are happening, right? It's the house of open enemies for the nation of Israel. Oh, that would be Iran. That would be Hezbollah. That would be, or Lebanon. That would be Hamas. And there is an apple shit disturber causing chaos, discord energy, Mars, Aries, North Node, Chiron in the open enemy house of Israel during the week before this video. So just, keep that in mind, because it's quite possible, I can't tell you what will happen, I'm recording in advance, that by the time we get to June the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, in the rear view mirror, we're seeing some huge difficult energies that have transpired that may be difficult, explosive, shocking, or upsetting regarding the situation in the Middle East as we speak. I mean, certainly with Mars in Aries, the upper hand is sort of half-assed in the hand of the enemies, right? But you would never know that, right, from what's going on. But we may see something going on here. There is chatter that, the helicopter crash from the country of I may have been not an accident, and that one other country, the nation of IS, it ends in an L, is responsible. If that turns out to be somewhat true, or that becomes a known fact, then it's very possible there's retribution going on from an open enemy towards the nation of ISRAEL. I try not to get algorithmically punished for saying words that the algorithm doesn't like for its advertisers, okay? If we're seeing some calamitous expansion of the war beyond the boundaries of the two Middle East nations directly involved, then what we're going to see maybe is a divine intervention coming through to shut this thing down before it becomes WW3. And that may be something to do with why Jupiter is connected to Mercury in the beginning of this week, and we can see where that goes. And Venus, the ruler of the ascendant of Israel, will square Saturn, creating some kind of a hard stop energy. And it's coming off of the part of the sky that is the ninth house of foreign entities, legal court systems, and things like the United Nations when it comes to the chart of a country. All right, ninth house can be legislative bodies outside of the country, or justice and legal bodies outside of the country of the chart we're looking at. All right, got it? Let's go. Let's go ahead and let's move into each sign. My focus point is really going to be on mostly what happens on June the 7th through the 9th kind of thing, when we're seeing the energy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Venus squaring Saturn. But I will highlight very briefly some little pop of goodness coming through around June the 4th, as Jupiter and Mercury will be in a conjunction. If you can remember to think, maybe I'll see the results next week, that could help. Do you hear the sirens, guys, in Lisbon? Can't do anything about that. I don't know if you can hear it. My mic might not pick it up. It's like there's a 5-alarm blaze out there. All right, like woo, woo, woo. Okay, so let's get rolling for the Aries sun, moon, and rising. I want to make sure I'm still recording. I am. Aries sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's begin. First of all, you're the one having this energy of Mars moving through your own home sign and home kingdom until June the 9th. And he's been here for 6 weeks. So you're a go-getter. We're on it. I have a sun and moon in Aries. We're aggressive. We're killing it. We're focused. We're ambitious and passionate. We've got a sword in our hand. So there you go. But let's remind us that Mars is not there forever. I just had to bring it up. We see it. But last week, the week before, with Aries and Mars combining forces here, and North Node and Chiron, it might have been a challenging time for you. I know that just on the cusp of this, on the 28th, as I'm recording for you today, I'm in the middle of this hot mess we're talking about, and I just tore a little muscle in my tailbone area in my bed. So Chiron, a healer, injury, wound, Aries, a shit disturber, and I'm supposed to walk the Camino. Whatever, the El Camino, this kind of stuff. I just can't even go there. I mean, literally, I was just sitting in bed cross-legged, and I went to pick my laptop up, and I on the end of the bed, and I pulled my muscle in some weird way. Really? Come on, seriously? Oh, no, I've been climbing stairs in Lisbon, and I pulled my muscle in a bed instead. All right. Next, what we want to mention here for you, Aries, I doth digress, is this. There's going to be that conjunction in Gemini between, of course, Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury in domicile has all the strength, but there could be this sort of delineation of some kind of good information, good knowledge, good news, or even good commercial prosperity as Mercury and Jupiter in your third house. And this could be some good pop to do with things like podcasts, online world, websites, marketing and selling, and writing projects as well. And so look for that opportunity, to open up for you around June the 4th. But if you don't see the evidence of what I'm trying to tell you could be good, then you'll see more evidence of it next week, early in the week, into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as Jupiter may become more visible and deliver the goods for you. If you want to travel, this is something, again, a seed is planted regarding travel, short distance, and then it can blossom next week. Good things with a younger sibling or neighborhood, because seeds can be planted here around June 3rd, 4th, 5th, and really blossom out into visible status next week. For example, wanting to rent a place in the neighborhood and getting some kind of deal, having an opportunity to travel or take a skills-based class, beginning to percolate early this week and show its true form for you next week. When I look at the sun squaring Saturn, and don't forget also Venus squaring Saturn, let's pull ourselves to that part of the sky around June the 8th. It'll be more, easy if you guys can see what I'm talking about. So here we have, Venus and the Sun are hugging each other as they're coming out of that conjunction on the 4th. As I mentioned, Venus is not nearly visible here, as you can well imagine. And in that sense, we can say, I hope this mic is close enough to me, as that we can actually say something like Venus and the Sun are together, and and Venus is still invisible, although she's coming out this side, which makes her a morning star, evening star. But what'll happen is that they're going to have a hard conversation here with Saturn, and we'll see this conversation forming on Saturday and Sunday into Monday. But you will feel that conversation, that difficult conversation, even as early as Thursday. So let's say Thursday through Monday, right? And if you go back a bit, you'll see what I mean. For example, here we are on Thursday. Venus is at 16, Saturn's at 18. Oh yeah, we're feeling it. Sun and Venus are still hugging each other, but the conjunction was actually perfect on June 4th at 14 degrees and change. So let's keep going with the idea of Thursday through to Monday. For every sign, we're going to delineate. Venus is going to have a challenging conversation with Saturn, and it can be a kind of a hard stop request from Saturn around something you desire or want. Now, Venus is in the house of travel, especially shorter distances. She's in the house of people you'd hang with in the neighborhoods and neighbors. She's in the place where you would, third house, be very busily engaged in social media activities, for example. Now, a hard stop, I'll use me as an example. My sun and moon are both in Aries. Moon can be the body. If I'm walking the Camino, which I doubt that I can really do, this can be me with a hard stop, going, okay, well, that was great. I think I'll just take a cab to the hotel and the next hotel. Forget the walking, right? It's something as simple as that. So keep it in mind that this is not necessarily going to ruin your life, right? I mean, Venus will square Saturn 3 times with Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces, once last year, once this year, once next year, and then that combination is done. But Saturn is in her sign, the place of her exaltation, a special place for her of dispensation, and it's maybe a possibility that she is squaring Saturn. Saturn is still like, oh, he likes Venus. How can I help? He wants to bring some kind of boundary or control, some kind of realistic, serious, sober-minded energy to what's going on in the 3rd house from the 12th house. And that's where you do things that sabotage yourself. Your own self-undoing, your own self-sabotaging strategies, patterns, and habits are in that 12th house. And Saturn is really good with Venus here to maybe help you not do things in the 3rd house, that trip, that class, that conversation with a neighbor, or something going on in the neighborhood, something with women, something with a sibling, and really restrain yourself or become more contained and restrained in a very sensible way. Sensible, Saturn. If you're somebody like me who makes money online, international revenue from foreign shores, this is a bit of a hard stop, right? Something needs to be pulled back on. Something needs to be constrained or organized or done in a more disciplined way. That could be what that is. So that's another factor for those of you who make money in this regard. All right. And I think that's about all I have to say. We're going to keep on moving so that Lori can go sit in the sun in beautiful Lisbon, which is a beautiful city for all of my Portuguese followers. First of all, it is very busy. I understand that a lot of expats live here now, that the locals can't afford the real estate. And by the way, that it is jam-packed with tourists. I don't do tours. I just wander, find cafes and restaurants, just get the vibe of the people, eat the local food, that kind of thing. But, it is busy, guys. If you're here and you want to take that elevator that has fantastic views or anything like that, the lines are insane. This reminds me of Rome back in the day when I used to went to Rome in 2014. I love Rome. And the tour buses were getting off, and you couldn't even see the Spanish Steps. They were covered with people. You couldn't see Trastevere Fountain. It was shrouded by people. All right. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. I will need some chocolate soon, and I don't have any, darn it. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign in the sky. Let's go for it. First of all, I like the beginning of the week, Monday, Monday, Tuesday, there's that conjunction, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, between Mercury and Jupiter. This can feel like a pop of good information or news to do with money and finances, especially your resources, your savings, or just the money you need to buy your groceries. And that kind of thing, having a sweet connection time early in the week. It's kind of behind the scenes. Jupiter's invisible until next week, but it could be a conversation, an interview, for a job. It could be the ability to maybe sell or buy something. If it's selling it, maybe you list it on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist, and then next week someone buys it. So buying, selling, resources, savings, and money, a nice sweet spot in the sky. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe fulfilling itself more visibly next week in terms of giving you the moolah money that you could get from this combination. Pluto up in the 10th house is also promising power in career from this conjunction. So you might really want to go with it. Now, also, we see as we get the week onward and we get that Venus, Sun, which are still in a conjunction, actually, squaring Saturn. Where do you need to make some kind of boundary with a friend to do with money, or to speak harshly in a, to have a moment of, okay, best you can, right? Venus, persuasive, kind words, because this is a house of speech or second house, regarding someone who's giving you a sense of constraint or difficulty and hardship in a friendship relationship. Also, maybe some of you might want to quit something here. Like the 11th house is the career gains directly financially. You might want to quit a job under this energy, or the job energy is feeling really hard. It's not worth the money. The lemonade, what is it? There's an expression. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, and some of you may want to quit that job or quit that earning strategy coming through the sky as you approach June the 8th, give or take a couple of days on either side. You could also, maybe with Saturn up here, have a difficult time with an elder sibling in some kind of clash of words or communication. That said, if you're somebody who is wanting to see Venus bring you some financial goodness, which she can do here, right? That's what she can do in Gemini. It is a money house for you. She isn't quite visible until July, and unfortunately by then she's moved into your 3rd house, but she is having that conversation with Mercury in domicile, and therefore quiet, secret negotiations and conversations around work, money, promotions, raises, salary. These things are very beneficial for you as we approach the end of this week, let's say Thursday through to next Monday. You might be able to get what your charming tongue, not forked tongue, but your charming way of speaking can offer you with Venus here, giving you beautiful speech and very convincing and charming speech as well, if that's something that you want to try to do. And if you belong to a club or some social group and Saturn is making that group feel like a hardship or a burden to you, then Venus, again, in the house of speech with Mercury, that god of speech himself, could be those harder conversations you're trying to affect. Love is hard, love endures, love persists, can be any Venus combination to Saturn. But this is with the grit here. This is the hard one. Maybe you need to give up on that friend, give up on that group you belong to, give up on that way you're making the money that's dragging you down because it feels like you're not getting enough for the money, the energy you're putting into it. And maybe it is time to leave that work situation behind. Especially with the South Node traveling through your house of work, many of you will quit your job/work in the next year anyway. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Obviously, the action is happening in the house of you. It's quite obvious that it's all about you. What can you do with this energy, guys? First of all, you are full of bounty and magnificent energy because Jupiter is making you the queen of and king of Mount Olympus, lucky as all hell. Of course, wait till Jupiter is visible next week to know that that is true. In the meantime, we're talking about June the 8th, 9th, he becomes visible. In the meantime, he's secretly plotting good things for you in his invisible status here, and he is definitely quite capable, because he's now going to be rising in the morning as the morning Jupiter, of bringing you an incredible amount of good fortune over the next year. So get ready for that, Geminis. It's going to wealth you up. You can gain weight, get fat, but you can build muscle. I have a progressed Sun in Gemini. I'm going to start bodybuilding, but really, it's more like you can be more larger than your own life. Step into your bigger girl panties and all of that stuff. and your big boy panties. That's a long story. Right now, though, at the beginning of this week, Monday, Tuesday, Jupiter will conjunct Mercury, the two of them together, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Some kind of information, news, or insights are coming to you. Technically, it could even be through dreams or meditation insights, because most of you will have your ascendant further than 2 degrees, and that makes it kind of in the back of your mind, and the sort of like in the matrix of the Akashic record. So a lot of you will be having more of a insights, downloads kind of vibe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, with good news, good ideas for maybe even for commercial enterprise, or good money luck news as well could come through. But even if the money luck is available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you may not see evidence for it, okay, until next week when we get a visible Jupiter. And with Jupiter ruling your 10th house of career, for some of you, there can be some really good developments in your career space as well, being made available for you as a feeling of, I'm so lucky, this is such good information, insight, or news coming to me about my career. As we move through the week ahead and we move to June the 8th, and you want to give it a couple of days before and after, but in essence, Thursday through to Monday, you're going to notice that we come into that Venus conjunction to the sun as they're continually squaring Saturn. Well, it's not love is hard, it's career is hard. It's that your reputation is hard. It's that striving to be at the top of the peak of your success is hard. With my progressed sun here, I can relate. I'm on a Camino walk. I'm still trying to produce content while I'm out here. The algorithm doesn't give a flying F if Lori's taking a Camino break, because the algorithm on YouTube cares not about that. They care about a decrease in output, and that's the end of the story. Then you get unhooked from their algorithmic favoritism. So I am on that Hue and Rise a Tiger Cannot Dismount. Where are you there, guys? In your career, in your reputation space, in your success, and how you approach it. How do you feel like it's getting to be a grind? It's hard, it's burdensome, and it's highly responsible. Saturn, now you might be masterful, you might be authentically at the top of some expertise in your life, but often I see in my clients' real life, when Saturn transits the 10th house, by the time that 3-year transit is done, on average, most people quit their jobs and leave their career paths and start something new. This is a once every 30-year transit. So of course it leads itself to big life changes rather than just, oh, look at me, I'm wise at the top of my sky. So you might be getting burdened and getting ready to grim reap something in your career space. And you may feel this more acutely and get a deeper clarity about it June the 8th, give or take 2 days on either side. Ultimately, with Venus conjunct the sun, in the house of you might be feeling a little bit more in love with yourself, gentle and kind to yourself, wanting to please yourself. And then Saturn's like, what? Please yourself, gentle and kind to yourself, get back to work, or work hard, or show up in the career space, and you're like, nah. Or a boss could be hard on you here, Wednesday through to or Thursday through to Monday, and you might not be having any of it. You're like, I'm just like not doing it. Your inner Venus is saying, I got to please myself, right? That's kind of what she would say to you. All right, I think I need water, but I'm going to go a couple more signs because I'm hooked up to a mic and it's a bit of an issue. So let's keep going. Alrighty, we have Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. What we see in this week is you're having a pile up of planets called a stellium in the 12th house. And for the most part, it is a very subtle placement. It's not like you can actually really cognate this. It's like, this is like, if you had ice in the back of your head, but you don't. So the 12th house from the first house perspective, called an aversion, is particularly hard to see. I mean, at least in the first house, you're facing in the direction of your second. This is behind you. So you kind of got this way to attach yourself or see this energy, or attach yourself to this energy through your subtle layers of your life. It can be through your dreams, your meditations, through, kind of a deeper inner knowing, perhaps. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what it can mean this week. Jupiter with Mercury at the beginning of the story on June the 4th. Day before and day after, you could be getting some deep downloads, insights, and revelations, ideas, communications from spirit guides, archangels, ascended masters, or dream guides, or some blowout meditations. Go for it. Or you could have some interesting good news percolating around people you know in hospitals, insane asylums, or prisons. You may not see the full-on good news or the results of this energy until next week when Jupiter becomes visible. Do you want to study or learn anything? I don't care what. I always note Jupiter transits through the 12th, activating 9 and 3. I see it all the time. People take up a deep, profound study of something that they spiritually care about, that they have an affinity for from a past life. That kind of thing. So some of you may be drawn to a new area of study and you may be thinking about it or actually exploring what you might want to learn as you end up going through this energy field of the early this week. But you may not execute or find yourself taking action on what you want to learn until we get later on, okay, to what? Till we get to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, around the 8th, 9th, and 10th kind of thing, when we get a Jupiter in visibility. Like apply for a school or a course, but not actually take it yet or get accepted, or hear if your payment check goes through or something like that next week. And then later on in the week, we see that Venus is going to square with the Sun, square Saturn. Technically, it could bring some hardship regarding legal matters, court cases, a constraint or restrictions regarding foreign travel, things that are difficult regarding educational settings, especially higher education, or book publishing contracts and deals. There's a bit of a blockage or a constraint or a need for discipline here. Now, money is hard, love is hard, energies are always a Venus square Saturn. But this is like, what money? Well, and what hard? Well, it could be money from foreign lands, foreign shores, like payment processors like Stripe and stuff, and some international 9th house entity. You can have a father figure in the 9th house, especially with Saturn here, an elder father figure giving you a squishy bit of tension around matters to do with foreign shores, foreign lands, travel. And there could be a real travel blockage or travel constriction for you guys here around that June 8th timeframe. And you want to give it, again, 2 days on either side. The 9th house tends to be about finding that meaning in your life. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Where's my true north? And Saturn is definitely able to help you get there as sage-like Saturn transits through your 9th. And then we have this critical bit of grit, June the 8th, 9th, where you're really having to be realistic and square away what you want and what you are capable of doing. This is really not a bad transit for writers or anyone doing something to do with the publishing industry, because honestly, your 12th house can be that place where you're busy in the back room, crafting the thing you want to publish, including podcasts, including books. And that 9th house placement is saying grind, work hard, get the creation juices going. Don't give up, Mercury. Let's keep writing, communicating, thinking. So for those of you who do those kinds of things, this is what that may feel like for you. All right. I need water. I really need water. I'm pausing the recording. I'll return. I'm back. Look at my water bottle right beside me. There's no way I'm not going to have that baby right next to me. Okay. I love this hotel. If anyone ever wants to stay here, I'm staying in, it's called Boutique, like boutique, B-E-A-U-T, boutique, Figuera for figs. Those are big figs there. I guess there's a plaza in front of me. Maybe it has or used to have fig trees all over it. So Praca or Praça de Figueira for figs, Figuera, I can't pronounce it. And it's a beautiful hotel, and I highly recommend it. And no, I'm not getting any money to say that. It's really beautiful, actually, quite lovely. And the food at the restaurant down there is so amazing. Don't worry, by the time you're hearing this, I'm no longer here. I'm not dumb enough to put me out there in the world where some kind of crazy is going to stalk me. Back to the story. Oh, I cannot wait to go down there and have a glass of Vino Verde and some beautiful food. And the food here is so good. Alrighty, here we have, oh, I did talk about you guys, didn't I? So we're moving on. Don't forget, if you're in the live premiere listening to this, I may or may not be with you, because if I'm really stuck with no Wi-Fi on the Camino, I might miss being with you guys on this. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Please hit that notification bell. That does help me a lot. And when you do hit that button, it's just so simple. It helps my channel thrive and grow. And what the hell, when that's working, when I'm thriving and growing, so are you guys, right? because then I keep putting content out here. I've got so much to share with you guys in another video. I had a spiritual revelation recently, and I want to talk about it in another time and place. Okay. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. What happens here is you have this story of the beginning of this week, as we see a big pile up in your 11th house on Monday, Tuesday. We see Mercury, Jupiter co-joining Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Clearly, there's something good trying to happen to do with news, good news, commercial enterprise, something good with an elder sibling, something good with a friend who wants to benefit or help you, something good regarding salary and money you make from your career, specifically earnings and gains from your career. And this part of the sky is got a Jupiterian blessing for a year, right? Go watch my Jupiter and Gemini video. But now Mercury's getting in on the mix. He's the lord of the house. He's got all the control. The only thing I'd say, as I said for every sign, wait till next week. Wait till early next week to see the fruits of this conjunction with Jupiter invisible. Santa Claus has still got his presents in the bag until next week. But conversations, deals, negotiations, or ideas coming through the sky at this time, beginning of this week, can be the seeds for what outpitchers next week as goodness in your earnings, gains, benefactors, and friendship circles and elder sibling stories. And technically, an elder sibling can have something very positive happening early next week that benefits you in particular, especially the sibling one older than you, which is your 11th house. Now, as well, you'll notice that Venus and the Sun will co-join, and something like Thursday through Monday, or most exact on the 8th of June, they are going to hold hands and square Saturn. Well, it's not easy. All squares are the nature of Mars, and they've been critical turning points that record. They often make us force our hand to take an action or make a decision. What kind of action, decision-making energies are playing out in the 8th house of shared monies and other people's monies? And I call it chunky money. In other words, the bank owns half of it. The stock company, the company you invested in the stock, you own some of it. Your spousal money, you share some of it. Those shared resources, inheritance monies, is not yours. You're sharing the parental or the familial money. Well, this part of the story has got a Saturnian heaviness to be focused, disciplined, responsible, and realistic about those types of monies. But squaring the money goddess in the house of earnings from your career, there is something going on here, or elder sibling, where those kinds of financial situations regarding money and taxes as well are coming into a very heavier, more challenging energy. And it's not necessarily yours to necessarily deal up straight away, because I think Venus Sun can be a female friend or an elder sibling, maybe a female, who is going to be having some kind of situation that you're involved in as well, to do with shared resources, perhaps with that sibling, and some kind of crunch here as well. With Venus here, which is love is hard anytime Saturn and Venus square, you might have a falling out time because of some hidden thing. See, the 8th house is hidden things, secrets and stuff like that. And Saturn, well, he's not normally the guy to gab about secrets, but he is with Neptune, who's kind of deception energies. So things that you haven't known about, someone may spill the beans, and you might have a really gritty moment, June 8th, a few days on either side, where some information is coming to you because Mercury's here that is not hard to digest. It's hard to digest, not easy to digest. And it may come through a friend or an elder sibling, and it may involve money. Okay? And Jupiter is up there in the mix, and Jupiter rules the house of romantic love and your children. So money stories with romantic partners and children can also feel somewhat difficult as we move towards the 8th of June. Sorry, nothing else I can do but deliver all the bad news that's fit to print. Mercury, Sun, Gemini, Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. You are ruled by Mercury, by the way, and he's going to be connecting to Jupiter this week in your 10th house of career. I do feel that this is very positive, with Venus in co-presence up here and Jupiter being a greater benefic. So it's like a seed of something good in your career space is being planted, and your reputation space early in the week, like, as I said, June the 4th, but go, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And there may be some quiet conversations or sort of subtle communications going on in that work and career space, because it doesn't look like you get all the goodies, to me anyway, with Jupiter invisible right away. So you could have a conversation with the boss. You could have a conversation with somebody in a work setting that lends itself to a great positive lucky break in your work and career, and maybe a plentiful money break next week, early in the week. Okay, when we see visible Jupiter coming into the sky around the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. When I look at Venus, Sun square Saturn, though, in your career space, there may be some disagreements from your significant other, your spouse, basically, about what's going on in your career story that's looking really good on you. And you're like, wow, you can't like bad vibe me, for God's sakes. This is happening. Like, I'm on it. I got a raise. I got a promotion. I'm going to be the big boss. So who's objecting? Where is this heaviness coming from? Is it your spouse? Is it your main squeeze monogamous relationship person? Are they heavy, burdened, and melancholic right now, Saturn? Are they going through a hard time? And are they not necessarily agreeing with you? Because this love is hard is like your career versus your love life, or your main squeeze versus your career success. So keep it in mind. So that kind of hardship looks like it's there. You may also have a difficult time with a client, for example, Saturn, that's giving you some hardship in the work and career space as well. One bad apple client coming through maybe, or customer, June 8th, a couple days on either side. Until February of 2026, Saturn is asking you to really figure out if you're going to keep this relationship, for those of you who have one. And if you're single, don't start a new relationship under a Saturn Venus square. That new relationship bakes in this ongoing tension, because when the inception of a relationship, there's a sky when you start something. First date under this energy. It's always going to be square, Venus square Saturn. And it means that that relationship will always be testing you, because it will never feel easy. All right, humbly speaking, there's no, it was easy. It's going to feel hard. I'm born with a Saturn Venus square. I finally figured out how to hack that, because love is hard, love endures, love persists no matter what. That has been my bad MO, because I've given up, not given up when sometimes I should have, So, okay, moving on to the next sign. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. How beautiful is this to see Venus trining you up here? Woo! Lord of your sign is flowing to you. Always a good thing. Let's start off the beginning of the week. Really kind of, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're feeling the Jupiter co-joining Mercury energy up here, and that could look like at 2 degrees of Gemini. Something good is trying to happen in your 9th house. We got some backup support from Pluto back in your 5th house, even though he's retrograde. Good things may be happening when it comes to entrepreneurial independent businesses, publishing and publishing contracts, fun, joy, play, and pleasure. But more importantly, it's kind of a hidden vibe. I don't think with Jupiter invisible until next week, like June the 9th, that you're going to see what Mercury, Jupiter are planning for you. But it is positive, I think. It's like a new idea, a prosperity opportunity, a commercial opportunity, a book publishing deal. Something is being seeded. The 9th house is the house of pilgrimages, foreign lands, and foreign shores. My daughter's Libra partner just got a job with an international company, for example, as in Australia. And maybe what we're seeing is some kind of, I'll give you an example, contract signing or negotiations or something that's underway here. And I think it's going to lend itself to a kind of, next week out pictures as something good. So 9th house is a luck house. It's a Lakshmi house. It brings really positive things to our lives in general. And Jupiter is a god of luck, and he has a natural affinity for the 9th house. Really good energy being planted for legal matters, book publishing contracts, foreign shore travel, international entities for you beginning this week. As we move on, though, and we get into the weekend, like Thursday through to Monday, we're going to feel that energy of love is hard, or something's hard, money's hard, as Venus Sun will square Saturn in the work and health house. Now, look, this is a health house, and Saturn's trying to give you some serious mastery, authority, and wisdom and sagacity around health challenges. But a lot of Libras find this transit to be hard on their health, and it's karmic health challenges sometimes that are haunting you, starting last March through to February of 26. But Saturn is also in a work house, and work is service and job and all of that. You've been grinding, right? For a year. You're going to grind for another year and a half, 2 years. Saturn's still here. And all of a sudden, like the work grind energy is in a square to Venus wanting to just have fun, just find pleasure up in the ninth house. She's not visible till July, so that's also complicated. So whatever's going on here, you might find that you're going to be pressured regarding travel plans, travel situations, publishing opportunities, legal matters, academic matters, and something that feels like it's constraining you in the sixth house, a work or health challenge, basically. So look for that. How do you break free of it? Well, you just go through it. You should go through it. It's not a long-lasting transit. How impactful it will be, I don't know, with Venus invisible, so close to the sun. The sun is about purpose, right? Purpose. So where's this purposeful goodness that you want to pleasurably experience in the house of the meaning of your life, at odds with something that's going on in the work and health space? And you'll feel that more acutely June the 8th or 9th. Take a few days on either side. And maybe when July comes and Venus becomes visible in the sky, you might find that you have a complete way to restore a sense of equilibrium around the matters that I have just talked about. I'm just going to stop this share and I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to keep on keeping on. One of my colleagues, one of my friends on the El Camino, they're all arriving now and they're asking me where I am and when I am. And I'm like, I'm in Lisbon. You know, guys, I am so the kind of person that when I travel, I need some alone time too. So I literally got to Lisbon for 3 days by myself. And at the end of the Camino, although I do love traveling with a group of women, I will spend 3 days alone in Porto. I am an introvert and I thrive on my alone time. And so even though I'm on YouTube all the time with you guys and I see clients, I am the person who needs to plug in my solitude. Any introverts here who are watching the live premiere or later on, let me know in the comment if you know you're an introvert and you know that the only way you can recharge your batteries or keep them charged is to have some downtime yourself. So that's how you know if you're an introvert. If you're an extrovert, you get charged up by spending time with other people, right? It's the opposite energy. Okay, let's keep on. Am I recording? I am. All right, so I covered Libra. We're moving on to, I do believe I finished, you guys, and we're moving on to the next sign. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. You are looking at Venus in your chunky money house, but this is other people's money, right? It's your bank, and so is Jupiter. Everyone's over there. Banks, taxes, mortgages, grant stipends, commission payouts, royalty income sometimes. That kind of like money that you share with the publisher, royalty income, the bank, the mortgage holder, the stock investor, inheritance money. Now, it can look good. Jupiter is bounteous and he's Santa Claus here. And early in the week, kind of, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, a secret, quiet backroom energy kind of is going on to supply you with some bounty. You have an inheritance transit. Jupiter's here until next year in June. This is often a time when people receive money through bequeathments or trust funds or inheritances or family legacy wealth, especially with Pluto in your fourth house. But people don't need to die to give you money. It can actually just be one of your parents giving you some money in the beginning of the week. We're talking like June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that thing. But if you don't see evidence of what I'm telling you, don't discount it. With Jupiter invisible, you may not see what I'm telling you to be true until early next week, around the 9th, 10th of the month. Put it on your calendar. Some chunky money coming your way, good commercial news, good information about money that you're not earning directly that comes because you share that resource with another. At the same time, as the week goes on, you'll notice, okay, that Venus is beginning with the sun to square the planet Saturn. That's not an easy vibe for most people because Saturn is very stern and stoic and task mastering here. And he's in the house of joy, fun, play, and pleasure. And if you've noticed, you've been having to find your romantic sexual energy is lower maybe since last year. You may not enjoy your everything used to bring you pleasure. It may feel hard. You may be having to work hard to have fun. You know, Saturn's a bit of a downer in the fifth house, and your children can feel like a burden if you have them. So this energy is now really becoming obvious to you around June the 8th, and you want to give that a couple of days on either side. Ultimately, I think, you know, Saturn here, as he's if you're an artist or creative, you're working hard and you're creative and artistic and entrepreneurial things. But as I said, Saturn and Venus are not having a very easy conversation. And this is a money story because both 5 and 8 are money houses in their own different ways. I would tell you that you have to look at some financial challenges with a child, a romantic partner, a creative project, or entrepreneurial endeavor, or just a sense of needing to rein in some kind of financial situation around June the 8th. That said, you know, Mercury is in domicile and he is the guy who does commercial exchanges, and he is with Jupiter. And that allows for some good commercial positivity financially. A stock could take off, etc. Jupiter is here. But Venus is having to deal with Saturn. You know, guys, sometimes it's just something like which child or which romantic partner is going to be causing you some financial stress, basically. Okay, that's how I would interpret that. All right, around June the 8th, a few days before and after. If you're single, fine. Then what creative project is financially burdening you? What kind of entrepreneurial endeavor feels like it's a financial grind for you? I mean, really, it could even be a tax problem for some of you if you're entrepreneurial, showing up around June the 8th, just something like that. With Venus not visible either, though, until July, some of the story may only be in its very subtle and not so obvious form. So pay attention right this week around June the 8th, because you may see greater evidence for what it's really about later on when she's visible in the sign of Cancer in early July. Moving on. That sigh is Lori saying, I need to go outside and have my Vino Verde with something off the menu, okay? Something off the amazing menu at this place I'm staying in. And I had the fig salad yesterday or day before. It was OMG, too big for me and delicious. By the way, portion sizes in Portugal are huge, huge. I'm finding. Okay, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. All right, we got a stellium in your 7th house of other people. This is your marriage partner, long-term committed love partner, business partner, client, audience, and other. Technically, Jupiter is your Lord, and he's across the way in the sign of his exile looking at you. This can be very good bounty and luck and prosperity and goodness for your significant other. And they may be going through a time of, you know, really sweet expansion of some sort. But at the same time, Sagittarius, you may also be noticing on June the 4th, a day before and after, that with this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, they are dispensing some news toward you. That phone call, text message, conversation with a business partner, significant other, or even client is going to be coming your way early this week and outpicturing more tangibly when Jupiter is visible as the results of this communication from some significant other becoming fully outpictured early next week when Jupiter is a visible planet yet again. Now, later on, you're going to see or a legal contract deal or negotiation being planned. Legal contracts and vows are 7th house matters. Jupiter is the god of legal matters. Mercury is a negotiator and the deal maker, and that legal contract negotiation and deal is being worked on. For some of you, it can be about land, property, home, and real estate matters based on the current sky, or situations with neighbors and neighborhoods. But now we're going to say, and travel opportunities. But now I'm going to say that as we move forward into the later part of the week and we move into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday, that window of time, especially the 8th and 9th, where it's more accurately acute, Venus, Saturn, Sun, Venus conjunct the Sun square Saturn. So Venus is with the Sun and she's invisible from, you know, coming out of the Cazimi on June the 4th. And she's not in an easy conversation with poor old Saturn here, trying to be, you know, stern and stoic. Literally, Saturn can mean you have an elder person living with you, a grandparent, a great-grandparent. And there's conflict and tension there. But if not, why are you feeling hardship, alone, melancholic, or lonely in the home? Or where is this hardship in the home? Because Jupiter is the Lord of the 4th house, and he's in the house of the other. Honestly, is your significant other, if you have one, creating a sense for you of hardship in the home? Are there important developments that makes love is hard, love is gritty, love requires decisions and actions right now coming to a head for you around June the 8th. There can be difficult conversations with a significant long-term marriage partner or significant committed love partner going on at this time. Or, by the way, legal contracts regarding real estate, land, and property can be really difficult with some significant challenges requiring your attention and determination to persevere, to continue or fix or not stop with whatever's going on here, to push through, right? Around June the 8th. Give or take a couple of days on either side. And, ultimately, a lot of what's going on in your seventh house has nothing to do with you. It's about your clients. It's about your marriage type partner. It's about your business type partners. Really, they're dealing with a lot of stuff. And it's squaring the house that you live in, or the tenure and the flavor of being in the home here, right? Saturn. And really, a lot of people don't like this transit, Saturn through the fourth house. It dredges up a lot of childhood issues, but it also, and it's here till February next year, it also brings a sense of that again. Why is being at home in the quiet privacy of your home feeling more Saturnian? So you can be alone or you can be lonely. Saturn's good with either. Now, if you're alone in the home and home alone, and that suits you in the solace and solitude way, you could be very wise and introspective and sage-like in your home. But if you feel lonely in the home, melancholic, fearful, or anxious, the other Saturn words, then this is not an easy time, right? All the way through to 2026, Sagittarius. Started last March, but this is particularly gritty because you're going to come into some kind of tension, conflict, conversation with a character that you're involved with, some other person and you and the home situation, right? I mean, if you're trying to sell a home, a real estate agent can say, forget it. We're never going to sell this thing. I mean, that's how that could be like that. Your female Venus real estate agent tells you this is not realistic. We can't sell this property after all. That would be a very hard stop energy that Saturn and Venus could create, for example. Maybe you need to renovate it or lower the price. All right, or buy a house. Forget it, ain't going to happen. Same idea. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. So we start the week off, and we see that Mercury and Jupiter will co-join in your sixth house of work and health matters, pets, and rental situations. Now, it's not a bad energy. Jupiter's Santa Claus. Mercury's got all the cards in his hands. He's tell Mercury what to do in his domicile. He's the boss of Jupiter. Jupiter is in detriment, but it's not the end of the world because Mercury is telling him how to behave. So you have a situation that could be good news for health and that you'll see more clearly outpictured next week. Like the doctor calls and says, we got good news, but next week you go in and get the results. Or it could be something to do with a challenge point that you're experiencing that may have to do like news or information to do with work situations. Jupiter can be good luck, and Mercury can be contracts and deals or conversations, negotiations, and it may still be in the works this week. And so work situations, contracts, deals, and negotiations could play out early in the week, but nothing may be fully tangible, like sign on the dotted line until Jupiter is visible in around the 8th, 9th, and 10th of June. Because debts, karmic and real, belong to the sixth house, and Jupiter can bring you debt repayment from people who owe you money, or you're able to pay off a debt that you owe. And there could be some good news, information around debts owed or debts needing to be paid coming through your sky again on the beginning of the week, June 3rd to the 5th, but also maybe more visibly true early next week around June 8th, 9th, 10th, when we have a visible Jupiter. A lot of you with a North Node in the fourth house and Mars are wondering if you should move your home, change your home. This is a house of rentals. Some of you may be thinking about renting a home, but with the sun owning the 8th house of banks and mortgages, some of you may be thinking about buying a home. Yet at the same time, as we get a little bit later in the week and we see that we have a difficult conversation between Venus and Saturn, there's also hardship coming up. And the hardship is to do with travel plans, educational opportunities, things to do with a younger siblings in general, neighbors and neighborhood, and communications connected to marketing, selling, or your online world. This is where Saturn will be traveling in this area of your third house all the way through until next February 2026, when he finally permanently exits. And in this sense, this is not your easy, happy place, but This can look like a work situation and travel. Now, it can be travel plans get kiboshed for work, or it can be that work requires travel, and there's some tension around that for you. You need to make a decision. It might feel hard. You may take some action. It may feel challenging. When, again, potentially around Thursday through Monday, or June, the 7th through the 8th, 9th, but I don't know for sure how obvious it'll be to you until Venus is visible in July, but it can still be the tension of decision making. Mercury rules decision making in Gemini, which way, up or down, Jekyll, Hyde. So you're making some decisions around work and travel, or things to do with health matters even. And you won't know the full import of this until you move probably into July and Venus is more visible, a planet telling you what's going on. I mean, yeah, that's the best way I can put it. And money from a sibling. I mean, in general, siblings are the third house, and there's some hardship around sibling money stories, maybe for some of you. And maybe there's some kind of desire to negotiate, Mercury, deals or conversations, Mercury, around money owed to your sibling or from your sibling to you, things like that, or aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, or nephew. And that financial story is in play during this time. Ultimately, to me, this is a vibe, okay? This is a vibe. They're saying you have an opportunity, Jupiter, Venus, in a work and career setting story that may require travel, even foreign country moves, Mars, North Node, Chiron. This is the expat signature. And you're dealing with the hardship of decisions or actions you need to take for some of you. Otherwise, again, it can ultimately be good for your health. It can also be good for pets. This is not a bad way to get a new pet, but honestly, if there's a square from Saturn in your third house, there's problems, because I mean, you have to get the pet Chihuahua from Mexico and there's no flights you can get them on, or the rescue mission isn't working as planned, or something like that, in the short term anyway. Okay, moving on. Aquarius, I am indeed one of you. I have an ascendant in Aquarius. This is, of course, for Aquarius, sun and moon. Now, what I think I would say to you is you need to approach this as yes. Just use the word yes. Let me channel us, Aquarians. We have Venus in the house of our joy. The answer is yes. Yes, what? Yes, more joy. Yes, more love. Yes, more fun. Yes, more pleasure. Yes, more inspiration. Yes, more creativity. Yes, more muse. Okay, yes, more. Vitality. So with Venus here, this is a good transit. We like this transit. It happens every year, but not with Jupiter co-present, which makes it yes, more, 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 yes, yes, yes. Bigger yeses than you usually get. You saw yeses. Yes. It's a possibility, just FYI, to consider that you can get yeses working in your behalf. So power of positive yeses is what we would say here. Now let's break it down for the week. June the 4th, day before and after, Mercury and Jupiter conjunct. Good news, good information, good insights, good ideas regarding bounty and prosperity available through creativity, entrepreneurship, romantic love, fun, play, pleasure, your children. Good things can happen for your children. It's not just all about you. This stellium, if you have adult children, for example, or even just young children, they're benefiting from all of this energy. So yay, your children are doing pretty well under this glorious stellium energy as we look at the week ahead. Jupiter with Mercury could be giving you a new idea for prosperity if you're an entrepreneur, a new idea for one of your children. Your children are coming to you with some idea, but we can't see maybe the full blossoming of this or the execution of it fully until Jupiter is visible around the 9th of June. So wait for that as well. A seed is being planted. Now, if you're a younger person and you or your partner can have children, there's a lot of fertility with both Jupiter, the god of children, and Venus, the god of sperm and ovum, in your 5th house. Be aware of that. And certainly with Venus and Jupiter invisible, yes, it's invisible because you don't know that you or your partner is pregnant. So there is a fertility transit. But think about what else you can be pregnant with. A book, a project, a creative project, a business idea. You're pregnant with something, possibility. You're pregnant with possibility here in this week ahead. The bounty of your pregnancy and the visibility really will be seen when Jupiter is visible after the June 9th, and Venus after, I think, around, if I remember correctly, the 5th or 6th of July. Now, so conception, you're conceiving something. What is it? If you're romantically involved with someone and you're with them, it stirs up the fires of fun and romance this week. But if you're not and you meet somebody under this transit, especially with the Pluto-Venus trine energetically, whole sign trine, love is transformational. And new love stories blossoming into this will transform your life in a powerful, positive way. As we approach June 8th and we see that Venus and the Sun will square Saturn, there's a little bit of a rain on your parade of joy and fun here because Saturn is in a money house, earnings house, speech house, and there may be a sense of financial constraint, having to come into a more realistic perspective around financial matters. Don't tell me about that because I just flew first class in one of those sleepy pods because I couldn't deal with a 7-hour sit like this flight, right? Just couldn't at age 62. I couldn't do it. But I'm probably going to be dealing with my credit card bill or something. So you can feel some kind of financial constriction or realism hitting you around the time of June the 8th. That wouldn't be unlikely. 2 days before and 3 days after. Saturn also says, you know, persevere, save, be disciplined around your finances. Venus says, let's just have fun. And you're trying to square away the balance point there and making decisions and taking actions to do that around June the 8th. Because Venus loves her pleasures in the house of her joy, the 5th house, and it's really hard to say no. Yes, I'll have another massage. Yeah, sure, I'll rent the Mercedes. Yeah, give me another first class ticket. Right? If you meet somebody, I said, under this transit, though, for the most part, you're going to love that relationship for a new one to blossom. It's blessed. Now, anything else I say? You can have a financial challenge with a love partner or your children, romantic lover energy and children, and a financial come to Jesus moment. Honestly, Saturn is about saving and being conservative around spending when he's in your 2nd house, and a child may be asking for more money, an adult child may ask for more money, a child may need money, whatever. So money and children energies are tense around June the 8th. It could look like someone has to say no. It could be you. Other than that, let's see how it plays out. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys and tell me how my fellow Aquarians fared under this transit. I do feel a lot better only doing one video in the last 4 days and seeing no clients. By the way, I'm not seeing any clients at all throughout most of the summer. And I will be seeing clients again, as far as I know, unless I win the lottery, back starting up in September, October, November. But anyway, keep me posted, guys. I mean, don't forget to join by put your name on my wait list because it's in my description box. It's on my website if you want a reading with me. That doesn't mean you're on a wait list. It means that you're one of like 1,500 or 2,000 people who get an email saying spots have opened up. First come, first serve. You know, that's the best I can do. And they fill up in a day, right? Now, people have asked me to recommend somebody else. I don't know who to recommend. I don't. Even another guy I really like, Victor, his channel, he's looking for training an apprentice now so someone can take some of his business. So I'm only a one-woman show at this point, unless I have an under me apprenticeship program, which I don't think I'm going to be doing. I'm sorry, I can't recommend anybody. All the good people I know are just as full as I am. Now, let's go ahead and talk about you, Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. If you're still in the live premiere and you hung out with me this long, hit that like button and please help this channel grow. I got to take a nice long walk after this and then hit the Vino Verde hour. So let's say this. You are trying to be a Saturnian being, right? No flip-flopping in the fishes right now. No going this way and that way. Saturn is making you more realistic, serious and sober-minded since last March through to February 2026. Sometimes it challenges your health, but nonetheless, this transit can be very good for you kind of growing yourself up, all right? A new sense of sagacity and wisdom being informed in your character. And as this is happening, dreams come true. Make your dreams real. And this is true because of Neptune. And that's a backdrop for what's going on this week. I want you to always remind you, Pisces, of what's going on. I talked a couple of videos ago about, Pisces always having money problems. I don't know why that's true, but you are the natural ruler of the 12th house, and it has to do with the, prisons, insane asylums, underserved, underprivileged, indigent, I know, refugees, homeless people, that kind of stuff. And there's just something there. The martyr complex is there. The savior complex is in Pisces, but so is, maybe money is the root of all evil, which is really the love of money. So a lot of Pisces, I met so many of you over the years in my clients, in my real life, you all have financial challenges. Not all of you, but many of you. like vows of poverty. So keep that in mind because there's a lot trying to change around that in the next couple of years for you. And we do see that this is one of those times this week ahead. Why? First of all, we start off with a Jupiter bounty Santa Claus conjunction to Mercury in the 4th house of your childhood, your mom, your early, the way your early environment informed who you are. And Jupiter can be a little bit like with Mercury. Let's open up some wisdom and truth about some of the messages from your childhood that have held you back. And because it's an invisible Jupiter, it's likely to look for some of you Pisces like you're having some deep insights, Mercury, into the way your prosperity and bounty may have been kiboshed or, sidewise, what do you call it? Like on sideways from your childhood stories. And that said, it can also be good for buying and selling real estate. Mercury is the deal maker, Jupiter is the bounty, and it looks like you could get an offer to buy or sell real estate going very well for you around the time of June the 4th, a day or two before or after, with the outpicturing of the success story more visible to you in around June the 9th onward as Jupiter is visible in the sky. So those stories are good. Now, you may also receive some money from a parent or mom and dad or family member from your childhood. 4th house stories, bounty and prosperity percolating in the 4th house. Later in the week, we see a Venus conjunct the Sun on the 8th and 9th. It's more exact, but you can say Thursday through to Monday. There's an energy of Venus in a difficult square to Saturn. You may not mind this. You are the one who plays the Saturnian role. You are wise and sagacity is your thing, and you are realistic and practical about something that's trying to happen in the 4th house. Now, it could be a difficult circumstance with a female visiting your home or living in your home with you, Venus, or you're practical and realistic about something to do with property, land, real estate, and finances, deals and negotiations, Mercury. I have a Pisces rising sister, beautiful 4-square farmhouse on the market right now for sale with her partner. And honestly, what's what the market will bear. No offers in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's priced too high. I used to be a real estate agent for a short time. People never get that. If nothing's moving in your price, your home's not moving at all, unless there's a depression in the market in general, then you price it too high. So this would look like my sister looking squarely at that from a realistic arms crossed stance and probably saying to her husband, Mercury rules the 2nd house of spouse, are going to drop the price. Or, Mercury rules the house of contracts, deals, and negotiations, and the buyer that you'd be looking for. And there is a need for you to look at it squarely and make a decision, because otherwise love is hard, money is hard, but also property, land, and real estate is hard, and it doesn't need to be. So there's a lot of energy going on here. Now, you're not selling your house. You're not buying a house. You're going, what the fuck? She's telling me about her sister. Excuse my language. Well, then what are you doing in and from the home that wants to be prosperous, bountiful, and luscious, Jupiter, Venus, and commercially successful? And there's a problem. And you have to be realistic about it. Okay, and it can involve a mother figure as well, the 4th house. It can involve inheritance and legacy wealth matters as well, and being realistic and sober-minded and practical about how you're going to handle this problem that can be solved in the 4th house matters. And honestly, I think you have a lot of strength here because you are the backbone. You are Saturn. You are the one looking at the world through the eyes of realism, and you can resolve what is going on. Venus doesn't care. She just like money, pleasure, right? 4th house. But no, you're like, let's get real. Let's be realistic. Let's do the right thing. Let's do the thing that is sensible. So that's coming up for you guys around the 8th. Venus will be visible as well later in July. So I'll make a story with my sister. She says, let's drop the price. They get an offer. They square away that situation, like let's say June 8th, 9th, 10th. And then, yes, Venus is visible in July, and then that property is sold and they're moving on to their new home. So when Venus is visible in early July, some of what's going on here becomes pictured outwardly as the result of the time we're in now. All right, I hope that makes sense. All right, I am done. This has been a while. I think I've been here for more than an hour. This is great to connect with you guys on my trip. And if you're in my Patreon community, you'll be getting a lot more info about my trip, little like snapshots on the road, maybe some like little thoughts and memoirs as I go. So if you'd like to be a little closer to me than on YouTube land, come join my Patreon community. It's early access, ad-free content. But on top of that, more of me, Zoom calls. We have 3 a month. We have a bunch of stuff. You can get 2 free courses with me, Chiron, the Key to Purpose, and Synastry relationship course. I am giving those away. If you want those, come to my Patreon community and you'll get those, and you'll be in the loop about how to know if your relationship partner is going to work for you and what the fuck is the key to your purpose. This is what happens when I'm traveling. I'm jet lagged still. And from Vancouver to Lisbon, right? That's like a 9-hour time difference. It's 5, 6, 8-hour time difference. And I'm not quite back to normal. Thanks for putting up with me, guys. Mwah.